Hello everybody, welcome back for some StarCraft 2 action. We got Trigger going up against Scarlett. Trigger going for a low ground pylon here on Solaris, which is a bit of a risk versus Zerg, because as you can see, there is no ramp here at the natural. So an early Ravager Ling all-in can be very devastating here. Let's see if that's something Scarlett's interesting of doing, because it's also kind of a dare by Trigger. It's kind of like, well, I'm doing this thing that usually people don't do for a decently good reason. Are you going to punish it, or are you going to, like, let it go? Because maybe I have a very special defense planned that will just get me ahead. For example, if he goes like 2 Void Rays, which isn't that good nowadays, but maybe... Like a few patches ago when the Void Rays were a little bit faster, that was actually a pretty good option. Now, do you see Nexus before core, and Scarlett just doing standard, hatch gas into pool, and we're gonna see if she keeps mining gas after speed. Probably not, but she might if she wants to get aggressive. See Cybercore here, no Zealot being warped in. Second gas before pylon, as per usual. Trigger just being annoying with this probe here, making sure that Scarlett doesn't get the full efficiency off her main base. Now the natural is up, and we see Scarlett getting up to that 100 gas. And now she peels off at least one drone, and peels off another. Let's see if she keeps in the third one. Nope, peels off entirely. She's just getting speed and then straight into mineral-only economy, which is signaling drones. Although it could also signal Zerglings, in, you know, the deepest depths of the ladder. Some Zergs will elect to do that. She does have full vision of this wall. It's not a Roddy wall, so I don't expect there to be a Ling Flood here. Do see a Stargate coming out from Trigger. Adept. Oh, we already have an Adept, and Trigger's now shading out with that one. And in about 30 seconds, we can expect a gateway to go down. At the latest. Speed halfway done. Third base is down. And we see an Oracle starting up. So, normal build here from Trigger so far. Except for the fact that, you know, starting your wall at the bottom is not... Oh my god. I just brain farted so hard. This is pretty common. It's just, it's a little bit more dangerous, that's all. Jesus Christ. Okay, we see third base going down here for Trigger pretty early. So before 4 minutes? We got this one Adept. Did he scout anything? Not really. That second, or like these Adepts have never gone across the map? Huh. The Oracle does see that there are no drones here, though. That could be a little weird, but what Scarlett was doing, she was keeping back the drones at the natural to make sure that she could defend all of the drones. Now, it does lose one drone to that Oracle, but the drones are safe with this Spore Crawler. Third base halfway done for Trigger, and we see a Forge Robo combination. Okay, usually it is a Forge Twilight combination. Going for that blink with the Oracle count. Ooh, Oracle gets 2 kills on the drones, and now punishing the fact that there is no Spore. Look at that distance between these two bases, where this Oracle could just dance around and get cheeky kills here. So 4 additional kills, 5 drone kills in total. We see a Roach Warren coming out, which Trigger hasn't seen yet, but should be able to see that pretty soon with the Oracle count that he does have. Only 2 Oracles, and now a Twilight Console coming up. More gateways being added, and we see +1 and an Immortal. So we see 0 sentries as of yet. So it's not like an 3-base Soul Train or anything. Do see Stalkers being warped in. Kind of faking that maybe there is Blink. You just show a couple Stalkers to your Zerg opponent. Ooh, they're actually a little back here. So Trigger perhaps hiding the fact that he's making a couple of units here. But doesn't seem like anything. 2 Oracles. And look at the Scarlet creep spread starting to explode. Ooh, oh, hello. Nice stasis, delaying the 4th base for a little bit. Now Scarlet scouting around with these Zerglings, sees no quick 4th base. And now dives on into the 3rd base, sees no extra gases here as of yet. But pretty good mineral saturation. We do see some extra gateways being added on. We already have 4 of them, 2 being added on. We see this Overseer flying on in. And let's see what Scarlett saw. So Scarlett saw not everything, basically. So it could still be pretty hefty gateway all in, but we know that it probably isn't. Only 6 gateways. So this is an attack with 2 Immortals versus Roaches, and we also saw an Infestation Pit, so we might see some Swarm Hosty boys, which would be very enjoyable. We do see a quick Hive coming out, so we can get Vipers yoink in these Immortals. We do see a Hydrodent coming up straight away as well. So I expect this attack to just be a pressure type attack. Although, it seems quite committed, now doesn't it? Blink is about to finish, no 4th base behind this, which is what kind of confuses me here. But if it's a really attack, like super committed, you'd expect more gateways. But it is definitely canceling this 4th base, Scarlett. Sorry, I got a call. Now we see Trigger. He killed 1 base. He kills an Oracle there with the Queens. And he's still moving around, but he is teching into further tech, getting another round of upgrades. So this was just a pressure by Trigger, but didn't really take a 4th behind it, which I feel like he could have. Look at Scarlett's army. I don't know. He could have at least attempted it, I feel like. Now we see probes going out to both bases, but there are Zerglings at both bases. And Trigger not willing to... Damn, dude. Dude, Scarlett. Those Zerglings paying off big time here. And now Trigger does send out units to clear away these Zerglings. So putting Scarlett into the dark a little bit, but I expect her to send out some Zerglings really soon to scout these potential 4th bases. Because if you're a Zerg at this moment, yep, you're gonna dig in. You're gonna, like, just make units. Because you know Trigger doesn't have a 4th, and look at his supply, actually. The mind games are... He's kind of mind gaming himself here. And we do have this 4th base, so if he can just stay alive, get maxed. He has a decent work account, he has decent upgrades, he's getting more tech. Oh, and we see the Vipers coming into play. Yoink! Got those Immortals, the power units of the Protoss here, completely annihilated. But Trigger still has a pretty cool position here because he has the speed zones, which kind of favor the offense, I feel like, usually. Especially in this weird 3rd base location. And we just see more Stalkers, and Trigger here is buying time. Both for his 4th base and his Colossus tech to pay off. But of course he's okay with trading favorably here, and he has a pretty darn big concave here. But we do have Lurkers in the back. Not sure how many Lurkers. We have 2 Lurkers here. They do have range. Oh my god, double Blinding Clouds. Look at the Stalkers just maneuvering on in. They might... Oh, the first Colossus did join the fight, but gets killed immediately. Nice targeting here by Scarlett. And all she's losing is units, and since her economy is superior, and all the power units of Protoss have been killed, that means that Trigger's fight here, or Trigger's trading here, is not as optimal as it could be. Imagine the Colossus or an Immortal still being alive. They would have had time to do so much damage. But on the flip side here, Scarlett actually keeping alive a lot of her Ravagers, did lose her Lurkers, but did force a lot of, like, commitment out of Trigger to go kill those, and now Trigger's just fully committing onto this fight. Like, he does have a 4th base, but probably he was liking what he was seeing and just wanted to trade out as good as possible, but Scarlett's targeting was super good, and even though Trigger was in between her 4th base and 3rd base, she took really good fights. Like, we only saw a couple of units, like, trickling in and getting shot down immediately. Oh. Stasis Ward only grabs a couple, but Trigger now has to retreat. Look at the low amount of supply that this guy has. Not even building more workers here. So this is just a sustained all-in, kind of. Like, if you're not building up to these 80 probes right now, you're just hoping to get maxed, and you hope that Scarlett attacks you with these low-value roach units. So you just hope to keep getting trades here. And we see 8 more Zealots being warped in. We see Disruptors, the comeback unit, as some might call it. Oh, look at the creep spread, dude. Look at the creep. Look at these Zealots. They've been visible since they left her natural. That's how good creep spread is, guys. Scarlett just chilling here on 5 bases. I love these 3 creep colonies, spine crawlers. Just making sure that if there's a Zealot run by and she's not in position, these buy ample amount of time for her to defend. Now Trigger, what is he doing? Recalls into his 4th base because Scarlett just moved in with a large amount of Roach Ravager Ling. Has a couple lurkers on the field. And we see a ragtag army of Trigger here moving into the 3rd base. We do see double lurker. We see the disruptor balls go on top of the lurkers, immediately kill them. Scarlett did not manage to split those apart. Probably managing her own attack on the 4th base, completely annihilating that. Kind of putting Trigger Omega all in here. And as long as she doesn't get hit by these balls, maybe she can use her 1 Viper to pull these disruptor balls out of position. We see 25 drones dying here. So if Trigger can get a 4th base again, it might be okay for him. But that is not the case. Another probe does go down. Trigger trying to take that 4th base. And he's doing some cool multi-prong attacking. Oh my god, no. These Archons did not manage to retreat, and now they get caught by a pretty darn big force of roaches. We see the supply of Scarlett spiraling out of control. And Trigger kind of like doing one attack after the other. If these attacks were hit at the same time, he might have done a little bit more damage, but he also had to go back to try and establish his 4th base. This is not a Heart of the Swarm. Your base has actually run out of minerals, as you can see here and here. And even the 3rd base, already 24 out of 16. So all of Trigger's bases are not fully operational anymore. Meaning that he is... Well, he's been on the clock for a while, but it's getting worse. It's getting worse, guys. 6 base going down, and we have 5 spine crawlers, making sure that, like, a couple Zealots can't do anything. And we see a cannon and a shield battery, which is worth, but... because he needs to keep this 4th base alive, Trigger does. Nice feedback on the Vipers there. That can be super value for Trigger. Another one of those combat potential units where if you got Stormer, you got a couple good feedbacks, and then you morph them into Archons, then you kind of get double value, since Archons do lose the feedback ability. I know they don't lose them in co-op, which, if you are, I think it's Tassadar. If you just play Tassadar and you make Archons, the Archons just keep Storm and they keep feedback, which feels really good, but it might also be a little bit OP. Do see a couple pulls from the very expensive Trigger units into the Lurker army here, and we see 7 Lurkers here, 8 Lurkers in total. What can Trigger do here? Look at Scarlett just digging in like it's World War I, but also mounting a massive counterattack here. Actually, we saw Trigger do a recall here, but look at the creep. The creep's on his potential 5th base. Scarlett taking this base as well, not even trying to mine from it, just making sure that Trigger can't take it. Even if he takes this position, he can't take this base ever. Well, eventually... oh, and the Disruptor does get pulled. Another Disruptor gets pulled. Oh my god, and a High Templar. The value on these Vipers. And you can see it's kind of like a Dota game where Scarlett knows that Trigger needs the decisive, fast fights. Whereas if she just delays the fights, gets the value, delay, delay, delay. Like, the war of attrition favors her. Her cooldowns are better. We're not as committal. Oh my god, big disruptor hit there on a couple roaches, but it's still not looking super good. Trigger's army is a decent size here, 100 supply, so if Scarlett takes a bad fight, he might be able to get on top of her bases, and then she can't remax in time. But her bank is ginormous. I wouldn't be surprised if she just builds 2 spires here, making sure that she can do a muta-switch like Jaedong used to do, or maybe even go into a bunch of broodlords, since I kind of feel like this army can't deal with that. But right now she's making the ground broodlord, aka the lurkers. Oh my god, all of the High Templar get caught, and even though there's no storm, you would have liked to make those guys into archons there. Lurkers kind of doing a little dance. This whole base gets cleaned up. Look at how chill Scarlett is here. Even though she's losing an entire base, 35 drones in total. So like, nah, I'll just do a counterattack. I'll just burrow all of my lurkers. You can never attack into me. I can only lose if I A-move into you. Now, natural from Trigger is being lost, so this counterattack, making sure the Trigger is giga all in this time. I feel like I've already said that he's all in for like at least 2 times here. And, well, losing this natural, not too big of a deal. Only 4 patches left that have like a couple hundred minerals each. And units are in the main base. Main base completely mined out, except for these 40 minerals in the main. And we see double-pronged attack here from Trigger, just trying to do game-ending damage, but the bank of Scarlett is just too big. And she's taking a good trade over here, and she doesn't even need to take good trades anymore. Although 50 drones have died, still 50 left. Think about it. Holy moly. If you're Trigger, you've killed 88 drones this game. You're like, this might be okay. It might be okay. Roach is still on the main base, but it's not okay though. It's really not okay. Zealot's running around trying to get this damage done, but Trigger's supply is somehow pretty equal to Scarlett. If she just spends all of her larvae here, I don't think Trigger can do anything. And there she goes, boom! 9 more lurkers. She's seen the main base. She knows all about the tech that Trigger does not have. Was even targeting down the Stargate, making sure there's no Tempest carrier bullshit coming. It's just ground units. Scarlett trying to take another base here, but the entire army of Trigger is still strong enough to contest the map a little bit here. How many Vipers do we have right now? We have 5 Vipers on the map. All trying to get some energy going here. Double ups started by Scarlett, whereas Trigger just not concerned with any upgrades. We do see Storm coming out. So maybe, look at that, Trigger ready to take perhaps a 5th base because, well, he only has 1 mining base right now, which is super saturated. Now we do have a nice Protoss ball here, but look at that. 5 Vipers ready to strike, ready to pounce. Lurkers dig in and yoinks start happening. We do see a bunch of feedbacks happening, but a bunch of disruptors and archons were already pulled into this lurker force. There's so many lurkers. 27 lurkers. Like, Trigger can't deal with these Vipers. He's just hoping to get the feedbacks before the yoinks go off, and that's pretty difficult because they have similar range, I believe. Now, disruptor balls do go out onto the lurker, and lurkers just get pulled in. The moment they shoot their balls, they reveal the fact that they are in range of the lurkers, so the Vipers just fly on up and get that vision, and even more lurkers are being morphed in here. 22 lurkers, 5 more on their way, and Scarlett, as long as she doesn't allow Trigger to take any additional bases, she can just kind of play the war of attrition, and now we really see the discrepancy in the supply. Scarlett spent her whole bank and shot up about 60 supply over Trigger, whereas Trigger lost all of his power units here. Look at how scary that is. This amount of lurkers. And he can't even see them. He doesn't have observers or anything. He's making one right now. Like, I couldn't see any of them. You just see spines coming. Now, we do see a big Zealot run by here, killing a bunch of spines, most likely. And now killing this 5th base of Scarlett. 6th base, I guess. And the Hydras do arrive a little late, but it's only a small win. It's a drop in the bucket, and now we see this interesting composition of Lurker, Hydra, Viper, with an emphasis on Lurker. It's just mostly Lurkers. She has more Lurkers than she has Overlords. It's like having more tanks than having supply depots. That's a lot of tanks. And similarly, this is a lot of Lurkers. Now, this probe had to watch as Scarlett took this hatchery, whereas this probe is really dreaming about building a beautiful Nexus out there. And now Trigger does see all of these Lurkers. Oh my god, that's a lot of Lurkers. I mean, I think Trigger knows that he's probably losing this game, but you can just play around, try and frustrate Scarlett a bit. Like, these Disruptor Balls can get good hits in, and if Scarlett is completely tilted out of her mind for game 2 and 3, Trigger can take a pretty convincing win in the series. Because remember, this is not a singular game, this is a series, a best of 3. And so you have to play accordingly. Dude. So many Lurkers. Oh my god, actually, yes, the probe got his dream house. He or she built the Nexus that they have always dreamed of. And now Trigger has to somehow defend this Nexus with his life. Because, I mean, this 4th base is also, like, halfway mined out already. Only 8 patches left. Or 4 patches left. 8 workers can mine there. And the Observer does go down here. We have a decent trade here for Trigger, out of range of these Lurkers. How many Lurkers have died this game? 22 Lurkers have died, and now more yoinks coming in from the Vipers. They have had a lot of feedbacks hit them, and now a nice storm actually finishing off 2 of the Vipers. But Trigger's army is still minuscule compared to Scarlett's army. She digs in with the Lurkers, does get another Templar kill. Oh, we do see a lot of charge slots here. Trigger is being mightily annoying. Half of Scarlett's army, though, just cleaning up the main base. And you can never kill these Lurkers fast. Like, she can just uproot or, like, unburrow and run away and reburrow 5 meters further away. Which makes... Oh my god, no! She's move commanding into the army of Trigger, kind of managing her other units. But it isn't too bad. Lost a couple Lurkers, but she's up so much. And then she actually headbutts the army. She's like, you can't do anything against these Lurkers now. The Nexus did survive, but Trigger did not survive in the end. But damn, dude, the fighting spirit on this Trigger guy. I'm looking forward to game 2 and number 3, hopefully. Dark Shrine. And Scarlett takes the first game in this best of 3 pretty convincingly on Solaris versus Trigger. But damn, dude, the fighting spirit on Trigger, I kind of like what I was seeing there. Like, he just kept on fighting, kept on trading. And in the end, he kind of went all in off of a 3 base with 6 gateways. Kind of overcommitting to a fight that, even if you scout his entire base, you would not believe that he would go all in that position. But he did not have his gases on his 3rd base. He did not have a 4th base and wasn't really planning on taking one. And Scarlett knew, so she could just dig in and defend on her 80+ drone count. And then at some point she had such a big bank, and she knew that Trigger was kind of low on bases. Like, if for some reason he could get an extra base somewhere in the back, he would be completely in that game. But Scarlett really controlling the map nicely there in the late game, and slowly but surely forcing Trigger to leave that game, because he was just butting his head into a concrete wall with spikes on them. And there was also a little note there, like, heart, Scarlett, I hope you get a headache, or worse. Now we do see similar startup from both players here. Now we do have a natural with a ramp, so that's a little bit more comfortable for most Protosses. Also, sorry for the jump cuts last game. I just got a bunch of calls, and that was really annoying. Now, what you see, Trigger did force Scarlett to take her natural at her third base location, so bit of a misplacement of the natural here. I like that a lot in ZVP, so you can chrono boost out this Adept, you can go for this Oracle most likely, and you can really abuse the fact that these bases are far away on ground. Like, you have to go all the way around to finally get into the third base. And they're pretty close by air, which you have air control with the Oracles. So, it's just a double whammy. It just makes the build you're already doing slightly better anyways. So I really like it. Getting a pretty quick third base from Scarlett here to make sure that you can connect the bases with creep in the near future. And we do see again speed coming out, no more drones in the gas, so we see Scarlett going for no early shenaniganry, but just droning up here, and will be defending for the foreseeable future against this slight aggression from Trigger. Shading on out with the first Adept, second Adept coming out as well, and we do see an Oracle being chrono boosted out on top of that. Oh, there's actually already an Adept there, did not get any kills. And we see the double Shade coming out, but the double Queen Battery is looking around. The Shades do not finish in the main base. We see a Creep Tumor over there and over here. So slowly but surely, Scarlett will make sure that her base becomes an impenetrable fortress. And both Adepts shade on out, but Scarlett immediately spots this Oracle, so she can prepare her Queens. Actually shows the Creep Tumor, and Trigger does hit it twice, and now it does pop. I wonder if Zergs are okay with that, because it almost seemed like she kind of did that on purpose. Like, oh yeah, just turn on your beam early, so you can't kill as many drones. I'm okay with losing a Creep Tumor here. Maybe, I'm not sure. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. Because these bases are going to get connected sooner rather than later anyways. And then if the first Oracle wastes like half his energy on like a Creep Tumor, which is an energy expenditure on the Queens. Yeah, we'll call that worth. Now we see 3 Oracle, this time from Trigger. So going into the tried and true Twilight Forge follow-up with a third base. And we see Oracle here coming into the main, but there is a Spore. 1 drone kill so far on the Oracles. Oh my god, it went in, and he pulled it back a little bit too early, and he took a lot of damage there on the Oracle, but it is alive, so it will stick around, gather more energy, and gather more value like that. Do have a third base down for Trigger, finishing at the 5-minute mark. And what is Trigger gonna do? He gets the blink, he gets the +1, so he's gonna do a blink attack. I feel like this map specifically is not the best for Protoss. So I wouldn't be surprised to see an even sharper attack, maybe even a more committal attack from Trigger here. A 1-2 punch perhaps. But we're gonna see, we see 4 gateways coming out. We already have 2 gateways, so going up to 6 gateways once again. We see +1 on Blink. Revelation being used. We see a Roach Warren. We see 2 drops, actually. Oh! Scarlett, did she get the... She did get the Overlord speed. I didn't see that, so it's a German taxi coming out. Lambo is her teammate after all. And the Dropper Lords are on their way. We see this build a lot, actually, on this map. I think we've already seen a Laser do it once. We've already seen Scarlett do this versus Hydra in, I think, 2 videos ago? 3 videos ago? And Hydra built his base over there. Oh my god, nice snipe there. I think most of the Queens did get out, though. No, 1 Queen did actually not make it out, and now we see the Queens being dropped. The Creep is being dropped. No Creep Tumors just yet, but look at the Transfuse coming out from the Queens. We see a Nuclear Battery. We got the Oracle on deck. Does get sniped down by the Queens. Nice targeting on the Oracles there from the Queens, but didn't pull them back quite as fast. But we also see cannons here as well. Super committal attack by Scarlett here. And the Ravagers trying to bile down these structures, but not enough Ravagers. Nice targeting down by Trigger here. Now the Blink starts adding value to this army. Look at these Stalkers target firing the units quite nicely. And Scarlett just GG's out. She's like, okay, this was supposed to be a Sucker Punch type build. I'm supposed to just win here. And she has 4 gas just for quite a bit of Roach Ravager. We see this Creep highway forward, so she could reinforce quite fast. But Trigger just really on top of things, has these 6 gateways and another one coming in to just power out these stalkers. And he had +1 and he had blink, and he just held this attack really nicely, completely like ready for it, mentally at least. He sniped the Overlord, and then he had good target fire on the Ravagers, and then just peeled back stalkers, not really target firing any units specifically, but just making sure there's no more Zerglings. And he even had 2 cannons, bunch of shoe batteries. Really strong defensive position by Trigger. And like that, we're going into game number 3. And Trigger ties it up 1-1 by holding a pretty aggressive attack by Scarlett doing the German taxi build. And honestly, I'm surprised he sussed that out so well, because honestly, I was a bit surprised Scarlett was doing it until I saw the Dropper Lords being morphed in. But Trigger had a pretty good build to hold that. Like, he already had 6 gateways, and I mean, his setup really showed us that by having these shield batteries and the cannons just ready to go, he knew what was coming. He sussed it out, and he defended really well, but also really like that Scarlett just pulled out an aggressive build after winning first game with just a pure macro build. This is exactly what she did against Hydra, I believe, where first game she just kind of out-macroed the guy, just like had 80 drones, and he went for a committed attack, just like Trigger did. And then eventually wasn't able to hold on against the might of the Zerg economy. And then in game 2, she's like, okay, let's see what you can do against my aggression. But now, we are in game number 3. It's do or die for both players here to win the series. Both a match point. Let's see what Scarlett does. So far, so good. Normal build. Of course, this natural is misplaced once again, but actually this can be a very nice build to stage an attack from. If you start spreading your creep forward, you're actually just, like, it's a pretty unobstructed straight path into the natural throat position of Trigger. So if you just go like 1-1 Roach or Ling Roach Ravager, you can do a lot of damage there, or even just 2-base Hydra. Like, you'll get the 3rd base, but you just go Ling Hydra and you set up here. It can be pretty strong, but we will see what Scarlett is thinking about. We see no more gas, so she's going to do the exact same thing she did the last 2 games. For the start of it, we do see another Adept being chrono boosted out, and nobody's surprised. We see a Stargate here. If you get the misplacement or the displacement on that hatchery, like, it's just too good to send out an Adept here and an Oracle here to just peel apart your opponent's base. Or, yeah, just abuse the positioning of your opponent's units. Now the Adept is coming in, shitting to the other side of the base whilst running into the mineral line. Might get a couple shots here. Does get... Ooh, actually kills that drone. Didn't become a Spore Crawler. Scarlett did have the money, but just slightly too slow on the trigger. Nice pun. Lol. Completely intended. 2 kills there on the Adept. 1 drone, 1 Zergling. And 3rd base is down for Scarlett. She sees everything at the front, so she sees that there is a 2nd gateway unit underway. We see an Oracle being chrono boosted out. And now, oh, we see Cryptomar kind of trying to consolidate Scarlett's bases here. So an aggressive player might put it forward. She's putting it towards the kind of like cross-section of all of her potential bases. I'm not sure. We're going to need a nickname for this area, because it's just the most important area. It connects all of your bases. It's kind of like the heart, or like, yeah, where all the arteries connect. I don't know what... Leave it in the comments below. Call to action. I don't know. We'll find a way. We'll find a name. Another drone does go down to the Oracles. Oh my god, 3 Queens are targeting it, though. Barely gets out with its life. And we do see 3 drone kills so far. Creep Tumor in the main as well, kind of laser style, making sure that no weird War Prism can be annoying here for Scarlett. Now, do we see a lair just yet? Nope. We do see a little bit of gas and an Evo chamber, so I'm expecting to see melee coming out. Just a +2 melee build. And let's see what Trigger does. Twilight Gateway. So no Forge. Okay. This seems a little bit aggressive. Because if you don't make a forge, you're just kind of telling me, at least, that you don't want to play too long of a game, because an upgrade becomes better the longer you make use of it. Now, we do see the +1 melee coming out. We see an Oracle just hovering over the 4th base here. Actually does see this drone. Nope. So it doesn't delay the 4th base too much. And just getting a little bit of scouting done. He sees the drone count on the 3rd base, which is seemingly normal. 4th base underway. How many queens do we have? 6 queens. So 4 queens in the natural, and 10 links just kind of running around here. Making sure that there's no quick 4th on the map from this Protoss player. Do even see a shield battery here in the 3rd base. We see 2 more gateways, so 6 gateway blink here with the 3rd base. No more units being built from the Stargate. And we see blink stalkers with oracles moving out, so Trigger being quite aggressive here. But again, I feel like you can take a 4th base behind this, or you can tech behind this by taking the gases, and like, you can probably deny this 4th base, and then just go back to more of a macro-oriented style, but there is no +1. So, I'm a little confused what Trigger is doing here. But he's putting on a lot of pressure here, forcing Scarlett to make units. Nice Zergling there, making sure that this stasis ward can't hit a big clump of Zerglings. Now, +1 isn't done yet, and Scarlett would ideally like to wait. Oh my god, big stasis ward value there. 24 links are on the way, though, and we see transfusers going down on the base even. Scarlett really wants to keep this base alive, while she almost has a new one as well. So, maybe kind of like baiting Trigger to go on the base, give her a lot of damage for only a little bit of energy on the queens. Because if he blinks in for the kill, thinking that this is the only 4th base, that can be really, really good for Scarlett. Now, we do see a full surround on these blink stalkers, but they do use their blink. Now we have the Oracle laser beams coming out. We see an infestation pit, +2 melee, no bailing nest just yet. Maybe she's going into super fast ultras. That would be so dope. Dude, if she's going like crackling ultra with this, I'm instant fan. I mean, always have been, but you know. And now Scarlett kind of pushing Trigger back. Trigger did take more gases and now has a Robo with a Robo support bay coming. So double Robo here from Trigger. Is he going into Colossus here against this high Zergling count? Do see now Scarlett on 5 bases with monstrous creep spread. Actually have to just re-emphasize the fact that she's so good at this creep spread. It's insane. It's so hard to play against. Look at Trigger's vision here. Look at this. Like, you don't want to walk onto that. That's scary. Now Trigger does take a 4th base of his own, slightly forward. I like this a lot. This 5th base becomes a lot easier, and you are pretty close to the 5th base of Scarlett as well. So you can defend this base whilst posturing aggressively. We do see a forge coming out now for Trigger, so actually getting upgrades after all. So that's pretty interesting, right? Going for some delayed upgrades. Probably just wanted to have like the strongest attack that he could on this 4th base, having the most amount of stalkers, and by not showing upgrades on his units, Scarlett might make some wrong conclusions or draw wrong conclusions from that attack. Be like, oh, he's all in again. Yes, I don't see upgrades. But he's not all in. He's just taking a 4th base here. He has 6 gas. We see double Robo Colossus coming out. We see nice clearing of the creep here with the Blink Stalkers. Oh my god, look at... Yes! Yes! We see Ultralisks. Double upgrade Ultralisk with Crackling. And we also see Banelings here. So... for a Baneling run-by, going into the mineral line with these bad boys. Let's see if we can see a little bit of damage being done here. And the probes do run away, but the probes, or the pylons, and the cannon do not survive. A little bit of run-by going into the 4th base, but nuclear battery committed, and no damage taken here by Trigger. But it was purely just to make sure that he wasn't paying attention over there, of course. You just A-move your Zerglings in, knowing that there's not that much AoE just yet. Now we see 4 Ultralisks coming out, of course. Colossus are dog water versus Ultralisks. And Stalkers can be okay if you have the time to actually target them down. But if they can get on top of your units, they will destroy Stalkers with their AoE damage. And they are now slightly smaller. Crackling, run by, almost cracklings, run by here at the third base once again. Banelings in the natural. Oh my god, 22 probes do go down. And Trigger goes on into the fourth base of Scarlett. Does take it down, but oh my god, all the damage that is being done here by Scarlett. And now Trigger, like, if you want to attack into ULTRAS, that feels bad. You want ULTRAS to attack into you, because then you can have the SimCity. Stasis Ward does get triggered by some Zerglings here, and now we have Queens and Ultralisks. We're going to have Infinity Transfuse. Chitinous Plating, not quite done, but we do have +2 attack and +1 armor. And look at these pitiful laser beams from the Colossus coming out onto the Ultralisk. Don't do anything, but they're pretty good versus Zerglings, not gonna lie. It's a barbecue out there. Third base almost going down here. It's not being targeted down. It's all about this fight. You see the Trigger has his priorities straight, but oh my god, that's so many Zerglings coming in from the left side. Trigger nicely maneuvering back. Still has a Colossus stuck in the War Prism. And because of that, he couldn't pull back the second Colossus. Now we do have 2 Colossus still out. No Immortals being added on, though. He does have double Robo on. No, he only has single Robo now because he built it at the third base. Actually got sniped by the Cracklings of Scarlett here. Nice targeting in all of this chaos. We even see Infestors coming out, and Infestors are so good here. If you land a couple good Fungals, these units can't do anything. Nice target firing onto the Viper there from the Stalkers, but we see Transfuses coming out, so this Viper is still in play. And if we see Fungals land on the Stalkers, they will get instantaneously annihilated. Oh my god, see, look at all the Ultralisks stuck behind the fat Queens. Dude, if Queens were like twice as slim, they would be the most OP unit ever, because then Ultralisk could actually get in. The same happens with Hydralisk for some reason. Oh my god, the Cracklings. No way, dude. +2 Crackling. Just eating away at this base, completely destroying that third base from Trigger. And Trigger just can't leave his base. Every time he does, he loses the base. Like, we saw the Baneling run by doing damage already, and look at this. Like, Lings and Banes can just run into this base, they can run into this base, they can even run into this base. Not having control of this important, like, the heart of his bases. He's getting punished for that so apparently. Or it's so obvious now that we've already seen it commence. We've already seen it play out. Nice Fungal, but because it's a projectile nowadays, this is not Wings of Liberty. Trigger can blink away. More Cracklings in the natural. And we saw Banelings in the fourth base. 10 probes do go down. And this might be the final fight. Nice Fungal on a bunch of Stalkers. Nom nom! The Space Cows chomp off a leg and a head from the Stalkers. And they are trying to do what they can. Nice targeting here by Trigger. If you just A-move, they will attack Zerglings, which is probably even worse. But we see one Colossus safely in this War Prism, but that means that none of the Zerglings are being shaved away. So they can do their damage and even soak shots from the Stalkers. Look at the creep, dude. The creep is on top of a potential 5th base for Trigger. Scarlett is playing the map so masterfully. Like, I am very impressed. And now we see big Ultralisk destruction, just kind of like a wrecking ball, hitting the Protoss army, just running in. No need for fancy positioning anymore. And Trigger taps out. Scarlett showing a super cool, fast, crackling Ultralisk style versus Trigger here on hard lead. And I love how she abused the fact that Trigger didn't really have control of this, I don't know how we call it, the throat, the heart of the bases of Trigger, like this area in front of the natural. She could just run by units on this creep highway and just morph in Banelings, run them into the 4th base, run them into the 3rd base, run them into the natural, and by extension the main as well. And because Trigger wants to be positioned out here, or out here even, he's never going to retreat back to that. Like, this base might have been a mistake. If he had taken this base together with this base, it makes way more sense for him to be closer to this area, and he can make a wall here. But that's just Scarlett really playing the map really nicely and abusing the fact that Trigger's bases were just placed in a way that she could abuse. I'm just impressed. I think you can hear that. And I love me some Ultralisks and Zerg versus Protoss. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this cast. I hope you enjoyed the games. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.